I'm just going to jump straight into it. Welcome to the second instalment of Doctor Who month. Since there's a lot to get through for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to make this quick. The classic era of Doctor Who lasted from 1963 to 1989. This week, I count down my top 11 classic Who stories from the eras of Will Hartnell, Pat Troughton, Jon Pertwee, Tom Baker, Pete Davison, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. All I can say is, let's begin! The second part of A Trial of a Time Lord series sees Colin Baker, Christopher Ryan and Brian Blessed all in one place at the same time. All the story is funny, action-packed and quite grim, I have to say. I refuse to say any more, lest I spoil something exciting and you'll get pissed off, in a nutshell. In short, Remembrance of the Daleks is two Dalek factions up against each other, caught in the mix, an army group, the Doctor, a mind-controlled schoolgirl, some scientists and a blind vicar. The result? Remembrance of the Daleks. A fun, action-packed story that shows the underwhelming response to Sylvester McCoy's era, even though it is quite underrated and everything. And it also just showed the start of the dark turn of Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, as shown with the ending. A predate Pricey finds himself sort of anti-allying with the Doctor and Sarah Jane in order to fight a nature-mad billionaire who uncovers 2 seed pods, steals one of them and intends to hatch it back in his home in England. The result? A monster that grows so large it makes the Incredible Hulk look like an ant, and a response so massive it received criticism from Mary Whitehouse and overwhelming positivity from fans and critics for Philip Hinchcliffe, the producer. The last story of the whole classic era sees one last return for Anthony Ainley's Master as he goes up against Sylvester McCoy's Doctor in a battle over a sort of cat-like race, and it also links in with Ace's hometown of Perivale, and also links in with, well, what would have happened if the series had carried on. Oh, and the last minute or so is really fantastic. Sylvester McCoy just gives a brilliant speech. Not much to say, but like I said, don't want to spoil the last ever classic story. Jon Pertwee's first season had 4 stories and 3 of them were 7-parters. The Ambassadors of Death was one of them, an intriguing story that played out as Apollo 13 failed and the world held its breath over it. At the same time, The Ambassadors of Death was played for the first time on BBC One. And boy, it is just as edge of your seat stuff and nerve-wrangling of whatever. I mean, it's action-packed, it's energetic, and the sort of like do noise emitted by the alien ambassadors is quite mysterious, to say the least. In fact, so mysterious, we can't but think whether it's coming from them or it's just music played as a sort of theme for them. The celebration of Jon Pertwee's first season in Doctor Who was one of 2 things. A, the first story was broadcast on New Year's Day, and the second, it was the return of the Daleks. The Daleks were back, redesigned in new colours and looking a tad different from when they'd been last seen in Patrick Troughton's era. This time, with pupils in their eye sticks. And overall, Day of the Daleks is energetic, action-packed, though a bit underwhelming to be perfectly honest, because, well, I mean, the final bit, which sees the Daleks and their Ogron slaves, it's just the Daleks come out the tunnel with just the same three going over and over and over again, with only a few Ogrons. It's a bit disappointing and a bit underwhelming. But if you get the DVD, the special edition version with new updated CGI and everything features far more Daleks and is far more believable. But that's not to say the original is not worth watching. The invasion is something of a unusuality. Patrick Troughton's second longest story at 8 episodes, and even more interesting because 2 of the episodes are missing, but the story is out on DVD because these 2 lost episodes have been animated. The invasion features the Cybermen in their 4th appearance in the Patrick Troughton era, and surely at their best. Whilst they don't appear until episode 4, or the end of episode 4, it's still energetic, action-packed, and a whole lot of fun. And I'm sure people can still remember the Cybermen coming down to St. Paul's Cathedral, out of the drains, onto the streets of London. And people will recognise this, well, classic Whovians will recognise it, for being the first appearance of Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart. He may have appeared in the Web of Fear, but that was as a colonel. And this is in the start of the invasion. He appears as a brigadier, and starts the many appearances for his time in Doctor Who. Easily the best story of Tom Baker's first season, Genesis of the Daleks, sees the Doctor go back to the roots of the Daleks. We find out how they are created. We also get to meet their evil creator Davros for the first time. For over the years, he has been portrayed by 4, and I count it 4 different people. But really, I find his first appearance scary, energetic, well, not quite energetic, grim, maybe. And I also like in this one, Peter Miles. He has made several appearances in Doctor Who, including the Silurians from John Pertwee's first season, and this story. I have to say, I prefer him in this. But overall, Genesis of the Daleks is exciting, action-packed, and involves a very unique twist ending. Peter Davison's best story from his final season. And pretty much you could say this is almost like a action film, because it's got a spaceship crashing back onto a planet, explosions happening all around, a supposed execution, and it just feels like it has a whole action film element to it, the Caves of Androzani. That's it really. But the Caves of Androzani is one of the best classic stories ever. And you can tell by the many Doctor Who polls it has topped the best ever. I mean, wow. The Curse of Fenwick is powerful in every way. We find out Ace's roots and the ultimate dark side of the Doctor comes to a head. I mean, the way that the Doctor defeats this story's villain is so twisted, so dark, so unlike the Doctor. But as I say, it's just twisted, unusual. You totally wouldn't expect it. You don't really expect what happened in this story to happen, really. But that's what makes it good. It's a detour from the usual Doctor Who story and just takes a completely dark and unusual approach to it. And this story would be my number 1, except in the number 1 spot is a story that goes one better. The final story of Jon Pertwee's first season, and this one is just nothing short of terrific. In fact, it's even better than it's terrific. It's outstanding, fantastic, outlanguageish. Every positive word I can think of fits Inferno. It really does. Another 7-part story sees Doctor and Unit helping out in a drilling project to go to the Earth's core to find a new source of power. But something happens to the TARDIS console and the Doctor is transported to a parallel universe where the Inferno project is already several stages ahead, but because of this, the danger and the consequences of the whole project are unveiled, and the Doctor faces a battle not just to get back to his world from the power world, but to save 2 worlds, or try and save 2 worlds from utter destruction. And I have to say, the best role in this story goes to Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, or Brigade Leader as he is in the parallel universe. Nicholas Courtney simply does a terrific job doing a sort of 2-pronged sort. You've got the good and the bad. So there we go, my top 11 Classic Who stories. Tune in next week to find out my top 11 new Who stories as we draw ever closer to the 50th anniversary.